For those who have just joined us, we have Miss Andal Krishnan with us here today on this Leadership During Crisis episode, where she'll be sharing about how she's been helping others because of her role in NAWAM, which is the National Association of the Women's Entrepreneur in Malaysia, and also how she's actually pivoting her business in training in Malaysia to basically go tap on the opportunities with the current COVID-19, especially when we will definitely not return to the previous normal, and we all have to get used to the new normal. Welcome, Andal.
Hi, nice to be here.
Yes. So, Andal, now back to the conversation that we were having. So, you were saying that it will be probably more or less going to have people allowed on the streets and restaurants after the first week of June. But in terms of the economy and business, how do you see COVID basically playing out and affecting actually the businesses as well as the individuals in Malaysia?
I mean, like everybody else in the world, what a shock. Who would have thought in February? I mean, Wuhan was so far away in that sense. Who would have thought that we'll all be in this situation? I think after the initial shock, knowing that it's not going to go away for a while, everyone started getting used to it, or rather, started doing things that we had to do to survive. So, one of the things that definitely got affected is the revenue, definitely. Especially if you're an entrepreneur, you're self employed, there was just nothing that you could do to get any kind of income. So, let me just talk to you about two groups of people whom I'm very close to in that sense. One is in the training industry. So yes, we are being kind of dragging our feet, and everyone's very comfortable with face to face. And suddenly, the the Zoom and the team and Google Meet are the only sources of opportunities. So I must say, trainers being trainers, facilitators, they got very quickly they got the act together, and the first thing we all did was learn how to use the tool. And perhaps because I'm just speaking for myself, I think, perhaps because we're so busy learning, we probably forgot that this is not giving us any money yet. But we are all learning, and that is very, very important. And slowly but surely, we're getting used to it. So even when we get back to the classroom style, face to face, and things like that, I think we're all going to keep quite a lot on online, both the synchronous and the asynchronous learning. We just want to have this really blended thing. We were talking about it a lot, but now we know we really got to, kind of don't put all the chicken in one basket and spread our risks. So even if there is a time where we can't go out, people will get used to having it online. See, the other group of people are, of course, we work in NAWAM, we work with a lot of what we call in Malaysia B40. That means they are the bottom 40 people, women. And if you were in the catering business, perhaps people still would order food for you. But all the other businesses were really affected. Like who was going to make clothes? I was told that the retail for clothes went down the lowest, clothes and footwear, because nobody really cared about them. So many businesses were affected. Some were even affected to the extent that they didn't have enough money to buy groceries. And there was a lot done by NAWAM and different people in NAWAM individually. We took ownership and did for whatever community that was living near our place. So we had that to worry about, and that was quite sad. I mean, not having food on the table, something a lot of the middle class people take for granted.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that's so we're all been coping.
That's not easy for quite a few of those. Yeah. Then
Yeah.
now, the thing though is something that always interests me is I understand that previously there was this 4% contribution actually by each of the employers to training. So that was one of the contributions to the vibrant training scene in Malaysia as well. I'm just wondering, with the new government as well as this particular situation, has that 4% been impacted and at all?
I think it's 1% really.
1%.
1% of the payroll.
Okay.
Okay, so I don't know whether it's the new government did it or the before that, but the employers have been given a moratorium of 6 months where they do not have to contribute.
Okay.
And that doesn't necessarily mean there cannot be training, because there's been huge packages of helping employees, employers, the layperson. So there has been a lot, like in every country, the governments have really understood that honestly they cannot let this ship sink. So there has been different ways of helping. So that although that 1% has been taken away for a while, I hope the training will come to a stop, at least temporarily. But what I'm worried is, when you are trying to make ends meet, when you're trying to survive, training somehow gets to the back of the queue.
That's true.
So there you're trying to, okay, now can I make enough money so that I can pay my employees? So that is it. And so trainers, we cannot go and say now, would you like to do some training? So a lot of us give pro bono training, because just to make sure that it's not out of sight, out of mind, just to make sure that we are still relevant. And we do understand that this is not a priority. That's number one. The other thing which we have felt personally as a trainer, there was some training that was just halfway through, and then this COVID-19 came along. So we had to complete some of the training. So we wanted to convert it into online training. There was resistance from the trainees, from the employees, even though the company was quite happy. So I mean, we had a formula. How do we do that? Like I said, like a one-day program, we'll divide it into 3.5 hours. So they were not very comfortable because they've already enjoyed that face-to-face, and suddenly to come online. So we had to do an orientation and give them some help, and of course make it even more interactive. So yeah, they too have start thinking it's going to be online. And now we are moving into asynchronized, synchronized, the self-paced. That's another story altogether. So
Yeah. So thanks, Andal, for sharing your views. We'll come back after the episode premiere is at 2 p.m. at the moment. So I'll hide you for a little while, and then we'll play your episode premiere, and then we'll carry on with the conversation. Thank you.
thank you, Janet.
Hi, welcome to the Leadership During Crisis online summit series. Thank you for taking the time to watch these episodes. Please remember to subscribe at our YouTube channel. We will be releasing the episodes 3 times a week, on Mondays, Wednesdays, Fridays at 2 p.m. Andal Krishnan is the Director of Talent and Operations at Crest Excellence Centre Sendiri Berhad. She is the Executive Committee member of National Association of Women Entrepreneurs of Malaysia in the PR and Special Projects Department. Andal is also the committee member of the International Association of Facilitators Malaysian chapter, and she has done extensive work in women empowerment, both for employability and entrepreneurship. She is also a distinguished Toastmasters in Malaysia. Andal, you are someone who has also been doing a lot of volunteer work to help these disenfranchised women. Are there things that your organization, NOM, is doing to help these women in their financial, psychological, as well as their health?
Yes, I must tell you that NAWAM is not an organization that has got funds. We are much more project-oriented organization. Normally the funds come from outside and then we manage the funds. Currently, we are in the midst of doing an amazing project in terms of giving skills for them to get employment. However, because we cannot meet them, and we cannot give them the training, and of course we cannot give them the employment, the whole thing has come to a grinding halt temporarily. I'm keeping my fingers crossed that by end of April we can get it going again, and hopefully by end of June they can get back to work, if all the industries are back to work, because many of them will be in the hospitality industry. I hope that will happen. But what we are doing is we are skills providers, and so that has come to a situation where we cannot continue. However, we are trying to get them onto things like Zoom, at least to talk. We cannot do the skills because a lot of it is hands-on, but at least to talk and to let them know, look, we haven't abandoned you. And I'm doing it on WhatsApp phone calls and on WhatsApp video call. That seems to be less frightening for them. When you say Zoom, they're going to be like, what does that mean? So this is more friendly. You just have to press the video button and then there you see the face. So yes, much more in terms of psychological support, emotional support. We try and tell them, hang on in, I even wrote a short poem, which I put in the Facebook. They don't worry, it's going to go away. Let's just hang on in.
There are many people and individuals, because of COVID-19, they may be forced out of a job. There are also many gig economy workers, both in Singapore, Malaysia, and in the region. So what are usually your 3 ways you go about helping someone? Or if I'm someone like that today, what would be your advice so that I'm able to pick myself up in order to move on?
Fantastic question. Not only you are in that situation, so am I, and so a lot of hundreds and thousands of women. And like I said, this COVID-19 did not care how much money you have in the bank. It just hit everybody, and everyone is a bit stunned. Sure, some people have more savings than others, so they can manage this a bit longer, and some may have just spent on a very important item for their training and suddenly find that this has happened. Well, anyway, this is beyond our control. So the 3 things that are very, very important is that, I don't know whether you've seen this wonderful thing that's going on the internet. It's called the zone of fear, zone of learning, and the zone of growth. And I think the first thing we will tell my peers, my colleagues, as well as others will be that first is to get a grip of this. Understand that this will not be forever, and have a philosophical view of this. It's easily said than done, but we really have to do that first. If our mind is not at rest, and if our emotions are not stable, we're going to say the wrong thing, do the wrong thing. I'm most worried is that your immunity will go down and you become the target for COVID-19. So the philosophical part is very, very important because this is a bit beyond us. The next thing I'll say, and this is probably a bit on hindsight, but whatever skills we have, I hope it's multi-dimensional. So now I think we're really going to go back and look, what is it that I have right now that will just see me through at least 3 months before I can get back to my core business. So that's what I'll tell them to do. And I don't have such a comprehensive understanding of all the tools, but whatever tools I know online, I've quickly used it to get courses going. And the third one I want to say is that the sense of preparedness, I think, will now come forward. It will now come about for every one of us. What do we do in terms of crisis? We always think like a war, for example. The war can come in so many different pieces. So at the moment, the only thing I can tell people what to do is look at your treasure trove of skills, whatever you have. Ensure that you can quickly convert it into something people can use right away. A friend of mine is a very good bread maker. The first thing that sells out in every supermarket is bread and eggs. So I've been telling her, just make batches and batches of bread, get food panda or somebody, and then just give to people. For people who are in the business of writing, this is a fantastic time. Like a friend of mine has just done pocketbooks, and pocketbooks can be really literally done one a day because we all have got so much of information. And of course, sell it for $1. $1, that's all. Don't sell for more than that. And imagine if about 10,000 people buy. That's a lot of money. So that's something we can do. And with all the tools that we have, it'll do the graphics for you. Make the graphics there and make whatever it is. And you know what? My friend said, people are willing to pay $1. What? How much can I lose? Even if I have 2 ideas from a book, that's worth it. So don't write big books, just go into that. And if we sit in front of the computer for 2 or 3 hours in a day, we can get a book out.
So now you shared quite a bit about how you're preparing for the future in terms of online new economy. And I think you are also proactively speaking to your clients who may have basically delayed the projects to change. Could you share some of these and how you're preparing for the opportunities that will come?
So as I shared with you before the video, because there was some programs that could have happened, so what I wanted to salvage it, so I said, okay, how we do this online? Our programs are very face-to-face and there's a lot of interaction. So I had to make sure that I do not lose the robustness of the program, because if you're going to give a certification, you want to make sure that's really good. So I have converted, like for example, I was just sharing with you, like a 5-day program, which is almost 40 hours, how to convert the 40 hours into segments, maybe 50 or 40% of it in face-to-face, some on online, some webinars. So I've kind of divided in a lot of reading, that they will read and they will share using all the various platforms. But we have to be mindful, not all of us are very versatile with the tools that are available. So that would be sometimes a daunting thing for us. So what we do is use what you know, because everybody knows how to use an email, a WhatsApp, a Zoom, and some sort of online learning. So use whatever you can and make yours a hybrid program. It doesn't have to follow exactly what everybody does. It doesn't have to be an Udemy. It doesn't have to be what you get in Coursera. It could be your own. And I think this is where the personal touch comes in. And if you would keep the personal touch, then people will not miss the face-to-face, because for them, you're still there. So preparedness will be the most important part, the lesson learned, and also to be as creative as possible to salvage whatever you can.
Hi.
Hi.
That was recorded more than a month ago, at the
Yeah.
end of March. So has a lot of things changed since we last spoke based on that conversation?
Nothing happened at the end of April. I'm not quite sure whether anything will happen end of May. So I was just thinking to myself, perhaps I was too optimistic.
I think at that point in time, the news about COVID and how fast it can spread, the community spreading especially, was not that serious at that point of time. Yeah. So and that's the reason why I think it's driving us to really the new economy right now. Actually, I was just wondering, because you have been really involved in many countries, conferences and facilitation, like for the IAF conference that you helped to organize in Malaysia last year. How do you see these conferences being organized in the longer term? Would there still be regional conferences, or it will be more of a virtual format?
Yeah. It's interesting you just brought up IAF, which is the International Association of Facilitators. They are very, very aggressive, or at least since I'm a member, there is a virtual, no, not a conference, but a 1 hour, 2 hour program on almost a daily basis by different countries. They have them in India, in Japan, and of course, lots in US and Canada. So all of us get into it. So we don't really miss the regional conferences. But I think it'll take next year, towards the end of next year. I think, the 2020 was a year people looked forward to the Olympics, and that got cancelled. And so I think people are they're not keen in making any predictions. And I was just looking at mine and say, oh my God, all those things that I thought they were just too far-fetched when you listen to it. So yeah, we're just going to use more and more online tools. and just be with that for a while. The hospitality industry is going to be one of those hit. And we were talking about the skills program, and we were so dependent on the hospitality skills. So now we'll have to re-look at our modules and see which are the industries that can take in these women that we were planning to train.
I see.
Yeah, so
So, on the same topic, actually, of facilitation and training, right? So, till I actually entered the training sphere and attended the conference itself, so there seems to be quite a huge difference between training and facilitation.
oh, yes.
How do you see these skills differing online? Um, and what are some of the best tools that you have seen that can help someone facilitate a session online rather than just training online?
The now that we have to use online, we can see the stark difference of training and facilitating. With training, somebody gave me this magic number saying that anything that is l- theoretical, put it on e-learning platform. Just do them in the best way you can, put it there. And the other 70%, you can use things like Zoom or some of the other things that you can do your training, which is you'll have to do some talking, give some activities, breakout room, etc. But facilitation is totally different because the whole thing is engagement from just the whole thing is engagement, and therefore you find that you have to have all the tools that are available. There are many tools that are available. I was just telling you about Mural. Initially, I was very, very uncomfortable with it, but now I've got used to it, and I find that it's one of the best tools. But the challenge is for those you are facilitating. If you are facilitating, especially a senior group of people, they are going to get very kind of irritated if this thing doesn't work. So we are looking at a lot of others. I just found out there are fewer, the easier ones where we can use, because in facilitation, one of the most important item is the post-it note. Either they're small or big, because you're always doing reclustering, and so these are the things that you have to look for in the online tools. So for a facilitator, it is tougher, I would say. Trainer, I think you have it a bit easier. Of course, if you go down the line like a lecturer, it's so much easier. So colleges have quickly got into online, and they're quite happy because they've got a captive audience anyway. So the students have to study, they have to pass the exams. So these are various things. But the one who's most badly affected are the instructors, those who do hands-on work. They
Mm.
cannot do anything at the moment. Though, of course, they can show a lot of videos, but actually watching them do. So, but again, you have to use different kinds of assessment.
We have a question here from, I think, Dr. Philip Mary. He's asking, online training now, everybody needs online training now. So which other skill do trainers need to learn in order to facilitate or do a better training online? I guess that's what he's asking.
Yeah, excellent question. You see, when you are in front of a class, you have got the body language. They get to see the whole of you, and that's some engagement. But when you are doing this, that's only half of you. So to me, the empathy in the voice is very, very important. In fact, I've been in facilitation where I've seen a facilitator who is so empathetic that it's very successful, and I've seen some facilitators who get an edge of irritation in the voice, and immediately they lose their clients. So the tone of the voice to me is so critical, and of course facial expression, because these are the two things it comes across as the facilitator's personality. Then comes all the tools, and I want to tell this gentleman, I think, is it Philip,
Yes.
who has asked, there are a host of tools. Some are better than others, and of course you pay for them as well. Some you have to pay, but I think there are enough. They give you a 1 month free opportunity for you to try it out. There are a lot of them. So like I said, I love Mural, but Mural can be a bit challenging. I would say that before you facilitate, have a couple of hours Of course, that has to be pro bono. Get them on board, do something fun, and then you can get the facilitation going.
But he's clarifying his question. He says, not the online skills, but in the new COVID era, what
Ah,
other skills besides being online do we need?
once okay, and I guess it is basically facilitation and not training. What are the skills that you need when you do face to face? There are a host of them. One of the most important thing is the ability to listen and to have the preparation done very well. In fact, in facilitation, the preparation level is much more than I would say in a training, because the outcome is very much based on what the person is what the people there want to have. I can see something like coping with ambiguity and change. Yes, exactly. Therefore, you do not have to control the outcome, because if you try to control the outcome, you will be disappointed. But to have enough tools to get them through whatever you want them to do. And I mean, skills like World Cafe and open space and clustering, Wall of Wonder, the whole load of host of that. I hope Philip will join IAF. Then that we have a lot of skills there. Currently, even having a mentor, a senior facilitator to be a mentor, you will learn a lot of it. But what we are looking at is being not so overt but covert, and let the process take over, and then you'll find that finally the solutions will be there. But we do not control the solutions. That's how you cope with ambiguity and change.
Yeah. So Dr. Calamari is actually someone who's been pretty experienced also in this field of teaching facilitation, just like you, for I think over 40 years. So the thing though that I would like, I think you mentioned earlier, I think facilitation online, especially with senior leaders, can be quite a bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
So he just put up, he says he has been a facilitator for 41 years. So
You learn a lot from him.
that's true. So the key though is when you are facilitating a session online, unlike training, it's not really so much about just the engagement and having fun. In facilitation, you're trying to get them to reach a particular goal. Are there specific steps that you are able to do to help them, especially when you're trying to facilitate a group to a particular goal in an online session?
Yes. So there are models. I think we got to depend on models, because that gives us some sort of direction where we are going. So have some models in place, and once you have the models in place, you can get them to the right questions. The right questions will get them the right listening, and the right questions will get them finally to where you want them to go. But you have to feel you cannot control what the outcome will be. And because they're senior, most of them are senior, they see how the process has given this outcome. And they can therefore decide, if I want to change the outcome, I should have dealt with the process differently.
I see.
So we do not control what is going to be the outcome. I would say that would be it. But I'm a firm believer of models. I love models because I'm very confident that it'll get me somewhere. And I'm sure Philip knows about Orate and all the others in the market.
Yeah. So now, I think Teresa came out with this question on, in the current situation, what kind of programs does your company offer or do to help others? I think in terms of coping with change and ambiguity.
Okay, so we are basically into communication, but we have almost 30 to 40 trainers with us. So anything that's got to do with talent and development, we like to put it broadly, talent and development, a lot of it in communication, and then a lot like change management where we do facilitation. So one is in giving content, the other one is using whatever content they have and to get them to what level they want to go. So it's bespoke. All our courses are bespoke, except what we put online. Then that's, of course, for the general public. But whenever we do something for a particular client, we do a lot of questioning and finding out what they want.
Right. So now let's switch gears and talk a little bit about your role in NAWEM. Right now, if let's say you mentioned, I think in the video, in terms of skills, it's difficult to help them. So what are some of the programs that NAWEM is doing now to actually help either women entrepreneurs or the B40 group of women that you mentioned?
Okay, so we can't wait to meet them all right now because there are restrictions and we feel we have to be careful. So what we are doing, like I said, we're keeping in touch with them so they do not feel abandoned. We're using grassroots leaders to make sure that we know that it is all going to be over and this too shall pass, as they say, and we can get them back. But what is my biggest concern now is we're talking about employability skills. We still don't know what the employability scene is going to be. And so we have got to be ready. We have got to make sure that we have whatever that takes to convert their skills to make them employable in the field. Remember, these are B40 women, the education level is quite low. They cannot take advantage of online, what is required online. I just read the other day, currently, right, as I'm talking to you, there are 500,000 jobs available, anything that's got to do with IT and online. So these jobs are not available to them. I mean, worldwide. So we have to look and see what is the damage that's been done by COVID 19. How can we resuscitate some of the industries and how can we put them in those industries? And many of them have to go back to entrepreneurship and doing small businesses. The food business is one that will not go away. So we have to look at those kind of things and see how to do it. I am a little concerned, but I'm sure there'll be clarity once all this is over.
But you also mentioned that because it might be easier for them to step onto the entrepreneurship and to on F&B, are you helping them in terms of like social media marketing where
Yes,
it's a lot simpler in terms of those kind of programs?
yes, yes. While I did say that they don't have that education level to do online jobs, but they're all very, very good with social marketing. I don't know what it is about the mobile phone, but everyone seems to know how to, kind of go around it. So yes, they will use a lot of that, and yeah, that will probably give them the kind of reach. And they're also getting very comfortable with things like Food Panda and Grab, so they know that what they're going to sell, you don't need a little stall, or you don't have to just sell to your neighbors, but the entire 10-kilometer radius, people around there are all your customers. So it's just being good in what you're doing.
Right. So now, I think you have been in this training business for almost 40 years or long, I'm not sure.
Okay, maybe, yeah. No, not 40. Yeah, about that, 30, 35 years.
Yeah. So let me just ask, like, for example, you mentioned blended learning. As
Mhm.
we move forward, do you foresee that it will be more than 50% of your classes that will go blended in the longer term with whatever that's happening?
Blended as being face to face and whatever tools online. You mean,
Yes.
yes,
Yes.
because blended has got different versions, used to have
Correct.
different versions as well. Yes, it has to. It has to. I find resistance from employers more than anything else, than employees, because there is a kind of a impression that employers have that when it's online, you can do it after your office hours. And then the employees are saying, why? After office hours is my time. I'm not going to sit down and listen to something or have training, even if trainers are quite happy to do it in the evening from, say, 6 to 8 or something. So I can see there's some resistance. We need to have some clarity. What does it really mean? As you know, the e-learning where they go in on and they go in and do it self-paced, that too they might resist and say that I'm not going to do that when it is my time with my family and whatever things I want to do. So we need to really look at how this training and development in the organizational level is panning out. We have to check that out. But in the when people are paying for their own, then of course they would be willing to do it anytime. And but remember now, the competition is from MIT to Harvard. There's so many free training. So we got to be mindful of that. Now is not the time to charge. Now is the time to give.
Right. So now, since we're on this question and we still have 2 minutes, I would like to ask, you mentioned earlier from MIT, I see on Coursera, EDX, there are so many free learning sessions. Yes, we should be giving, but how do you then foresee yourself actually differentiating yourself compared to other training programs, training associations, so that you can at least thrive, right? Right now, we're trying to survive. After this period, we have to prepare so that we can thrive in the later on. How do you see yourself differentiating yourself from others?
It's very challenging, very, very challenging. But like everything else, you must have some unique selling points. And I think, of course, it has to be a very good product. You got to entice them with something like tasters, freebies, good stuff, entice them, and then they come back on you. But if yours don't sell, I believe then there's something not right about it. So you need to make it sell. And you have to, that's where our self development as trainers and facilitators is so important, because you got to keep up and see what they need and look at those kinds of programs that it'll benefit them. That's why I like bespoke programs instead of one size fits all. But I must tell you, I'm a Coursera junkie. I go in, but a lot of them are just talking heads. And after a while, you do get a bit bored, and I have been a dropout. They don't engage you enough. So I think that's where it comes in, the engagement.
Yeah.
How to make each of them engaging. Yeah.
So, Andal, I'm actually going to just share how they can search for you and understand a little bit more. So I'll just hide you for a little while.
Okay.
So I'm going to go into the Effective Asian Leadership website as per usual. So once you're into this particular website, Effective Asian Leadership, you can scroll down to Andal's video on the Leadership During Crisis tab. Click on the Watch Now, and you will be able to watch today's episode if you had missed it a little earlier. And when the live Q&A recorded video is available, I'll be putting it onto this page as well. So on this page, you can read a little bit more about Andal, her background, as well as how you can actually contact her at CRES to understand what programs you have, since Teresa asked a little earlier. We have also launched on Monday, I mentioned that we have launched a learning.corporatetrainerconnect.com site where we are uploading quite a lot of the first few episodes of the Leadership During Crisis to these platform to have it better categorized and easily accessible, free as well on these learning.com. So in this learning.com, Andal, as she mentioned a little earlier, that it is the time to give rather than the time to actually charge expensive. So she has launched a writing for business program on why concise and precise writing is important, especially in this period of time. And instead of the usual US $300, she's only charging $98 with 5 modules and 2 one-hour coaching sessions. So if you like to, I will put it onto the website so that you can read up a little bit more. So let me get back to Andal right now.
Hi.
Yeah, actually, there's one thing I forgot to ask you. I think in the program you mentioned, in this period of time, I think writing precisely and concisely is crucial. Could you share with us why this is the case?
Well, because first you are fighting with lots of people who are trying to get the message across. So if yours is long-winded, then no one wants to read it. The message is to capture them. There must be few words that will really make them read the rest of it. So that doesn't happen overnight. It's a skill. And therefore, it is good to learn all this in whichever website you want to and try it out. And what is great now is, so what if you make a few mistakes? Just try it out, put it somewhere. You get feedback. Don't ever be afraid of getting some brick pads, but just go and try it out. And have friends to talk about that as well.
Right, right. Thank you, Andal, for your time. We are 2:34, 4 minutes past 2:30. Thank you for sharing and sharing your experience and insights on this episode series with us. Thank you, everyone. Hope to see you on Friday, where we will be having Dr. Philip Perry online as well. See you then. Bye, Andal.